to the final episode on this series of videos on Eastside. This one is doing a very important job. It's talking all about balance and creating a nice balanced final project. Now, I have already talked about balance. I've mentioned some things as we go along, but this is where we're actually going to fix it. If we listen to our track at the moment, then there are some balance issues. Now, on their own, the guitar tracks sound okay. But you can hear they're significantly louder than the vocal parts. The vocal parts are really, really important, so we need to do some balancing. Okay, now the easiest way to balance is with the track header faders. Okay, these over here, these sliders, they really do provide a really easy way of turning things down. However, in terms of turning things up, there's another technique that I'd like to use because it's a little bit more successful, gives you a bit more controllability, and you can turn up a little bit more. So the first thing that jumps out to me, and you will need to use your ears for this, your mix will have turned out differently depending on which parts you've replaced, which sounds you've used, which effects you've applied, that kind of thing. You need to use your ears, you need to be using your headphones and making sure that you're listening. If it doesn't make it sound better, don't do it. It's really, really straightforward. But for turning stuff down, the faders really are quite useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick an amount. I'm going to try -6. Okay, I'm going to go -6 on all of these. Now, again, you can use the slider, which is my preferred method, or you can actually double-click on it and type in the value. -6, there you go, whichever works for you. Let's have another listen. Better already. When I was young, I fell in love. It used to old odds, man. That was I think actually we need to lose a little bit more. Let's try -10. Okay, so we'll go -10. We have got 4 layers of this after all. Okay, four parts. It's not surprising that we have to turn it down. That's better. Okay, so that's okay for the verse. Let's have a little look at the chorus. Quite happy with that. I like the amount of bass. Works well with this song. Here comes the chorus. Yeah, I like that actually. Not a great deal of adjustment needed there at all. Now we boost our snare and our kick earlier when we put some compression on. Maybe a bit more on the fill. There we go. Okay, so in terms of balance, that's okay. However, there's a really important part down here that we're just not really getting very much of. I can hear loads of guitar, which is nice, but I want a bit more synth. Right, all of these parts, I want to turn them up. But if I just turn them up, if I just go +6 on all of them, I guarantee you they're probably still not going to cut through as much as I would like. Okay, it's a bit more. It's better. It's better. But also, it's not terribly good practice to just chuck the level up as high as it can go. So I'm going to set these back to 0. Remember, everything's done as 0 as the point that we want to end up with. I'm not going to talk too much about leveling because you're limited with what you can do at GarageBand, and also at level 2, the expectation of what you're going to do with leveling is quite limited. But there is a plugin that you can use to really help with this. So, didn't mean to press play. Open Smart Controls again, and if you go to here, the plugins, and you go to Utility, there's a gain option. Okay, now gain means you can just have a little bit more control over the amount of amplification that's happening without having to slam the fader up to maximum. Now, we've already done +6, and we know that +6 doesn't really give it enough boost that we want at the moment. So I'm going to go There's 6. Let's make it really present, okay? 24. That's clearly too much. So somewhere in between the two. Doesn't have to be a round number. That's interesting. Where have the other 2 Dream Dancer parts gone? Did I not put them in? Sloppy. That's not attention to detail, is it, Mr. SC? Did I miss them out? Poor. I would have messed up the stereo field as well. Okay, so put it up to plus 12. And that's better already. So I'm going to go utility, gain. And what did we say? You can type in here if you want. 12. Oh, yes. Now that extra little descant note, let's put a bit more gain on that as well. Utility gain. 12. Again, a bit annoying I have to do this individually for every single track. Well, that's just how GarageBand is. Okay, what am I doing? The wrong thing is what I'm doing. Concentrate, Mr. SC. There we go. How's that sounding? Oh! There we go. That little extra ping. They're coming through quite nicely. And you know what? I'm going to do it on the parts that come in later as well. Utility gain. What the hell? It's all the same sound. So let's go plus 12. It might be that you want to take a little bit more time with it and experiment with it a little bit. Utility gain. Pressing the wrong thing again. 12. There we go. What does this sound? We can do anything if we put our minds to it. Take your whole life, then you put a line through it. My love is yours if you're willing to take it. Give me your heart, 'cause I ain't gonna break it. So come away, start it today. Starting a life together at a different place. We know that love is how all these ideas came to be. So baby, away with me. Yeah, that's much happier with that, or I'm much happier with that. That's a much nicer mix. So again, we've done some work. We have enhanced the mix that we were doing. So what I'm going to do is get rid of the smart controls. Going to take a shot of the top of the mix. I'm going to take a shot of the bottom of the mix. I'm going to open the gain utility for this one. Okay, so back to our presentation. Why is that still there? Go away. So this will be screenshots 24 and 25. Get rid of that. Is that the top of the mix? Yes, it is. Shrink that down a bit. Get that in as well. There we go. So what am I doing? Here I am balancing the mix. For this I use the track header faders. Oops. Track header faders when I was adjusting downwards. However, I wanted to make the synth parts more present, and even when I turned them up to plus 6 dB, they still weren't really coming through. As a result, I decided to use the gain plugin, the gain plugin in Smart Controls. Have I capitalized it before? No, I don't think I have. Plugin in Smart Controls. And using this, I was able to boost by plus 12. and therefore the mix was more balanced overall. I am much happier with the sound of the track since the mixing process. I do believe that what I have applied has enhanced the quality of the mix. There we go, and we're done, except we're not. Okay, there's two other little details that I like to do on the end of this project. Okay, if we pick the loudest point, which is the start of the chorus, okay, and we look up here at the master fader, okay, we have red showing. Right, we don't like red. Red means distortion. Red means that the level is too high, and we're going to end up with things being cut out of our final mix. So really easy to fix this. Like I said, we don't spend too much time talking about leveling. We spend a lot of time talking about leveling at level 3 because we're using Logic, and it's much easier to do as we go along. We do something called gain staging, and it's much more available to us earlier in the process. I'm literally going to turn us down. Okay, I'm going to go to, let's try -6. We're still showing red. There we go. So I've turned it down on the master fader. The only time I touch the master fader ever when I'm mixing in GarageBand. Okay, if you want to turn your volume down in your headphones, you should be just in your computer volume, like that. I hope that's showing up for you on the screen recording. But if that's the volume coming out of your headphones. The master fader is the overall volume of the track. So we want that so we haven't got any clipping, we haven't got any distortion up at the top. That's the job that we need to do. We'll screenshot that in a moment. But the final job that we do is we put the fade out in. You're only using the first minute or so of this track, and so I think it's nice to have it fading out before the commercial tracks come back in again. So to do that, we need to use the master track. So I'm going to go up to the track option. I'm going to click on show master track. And what that does is that creates a track down here, right? And what you can do here is you can automate the volume on this, just like we did previously with the guitar track, I think it was. So if I press A, the automation opens, and we've got these lines again. Now, for some reason, it always defaults to display off. I don't know why, but change that to volume, and then you've got a volume line here. And what you want is you want a fade out over the course of somewhere between 5 and 10 seconds as your tracks finish. So let's stick a point in here. There's the volume line. Put that in, about 5 seconds worth. And now what we have is oh, I've put it on the wrong track. I have put it on the wrong track. I didn't put it on the master track, I put it on there. Okay, there we go. Put it on there, about 5 seconds. And now we have a fade out. At least we should have a fade out. There you go. Now you've got a fade out, so you've got a nice professional sounding ending. What have we done? We've done something. We take a screenshot. And we're going to go, this will be screenshot 26. Put them down at the bottom. Here I have leveled the track by turning the master fader down to prevent any clipping or distortion. Leveling, whoops, terrible typing today. Leveling is quite limited in GarageBand. But it is still good practice to ensure that there is nothing above 0 dB on the master fader. Put no red. I have also added a fade out using the master track at the end of my recordings, rather than letting it run into the commercial tracks in the second half of the song. Okay, nearly there. We've got one more thing to do, and that is bounce it. Okay, you will give me your GarageBand file for me to mark. However, your external examiner, if your work gets called for that, is going to want an MP3 file, and you are expected to bounce that for them. So we need to do that finally. So the first thing is we're going to look where our fade out is. I'm going to turn on the cycle tool up until that point. Okay, there we go. So we've got the cycle on over the top of it. That is just going to mean we're just going to bounce that section. I'm not going to bounce the entire file and therefore have a whole load of silence at the end of it. So we're going to go share, export song to disk, and you get some options. So eSide model, it puts the date and the time in for you automatically. You can change it, so Mr. SC, eSide project file, something like that. There you go. We're going to bounce it to the desktop. You've been asked to produce an MP3 file, which is great, and we want to export the cycle area. Yeah, because the regions go quite a lot longer than that, and we don't want to do that. So we then just click export, and it will bounce the file to wherever you've told it to go. I'm pretty sure I told it to go to the desktop. Converts it to MP3, and we should have on our desktop, yes we do. There it is, and that is what you will actually hand in. Oh, I've bounced it with the click on. Don't do that, folks. Turn the click off before you bounce it. We don't want the click in the final track. It has been exceptionally useful to us while we've been making it, but turn it off before we go. And there we go. We have a completed. In fact, why don't we just add a line? I then bounced project file using the cycle tool, because again it's showing that you understand, and created an MP3 of my final project. Ta-da! Unit 7 complete. Why does that say screenshot 23? Don't know. Should say screenshot 26. Okay, there we go. So 26 screenshots, you know, good level of detail, lots of discussion, lots of different technique. It's not all of the project. You then have to make your screencast as well, but that comes afterwards. But get yourself a really, really good track and a really, really good write-up for the first assignment of Unit 7, and then the screencast will be very, very straightforward for you. Hope that's all been really useful.